Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Master, or is it the Doctor, as they travel the Vortex and arrive at episode 520. It's been a long time since we drove a manual. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Pretty good.
I am weary.
Planet Comic-Con take it out of you?
Planet Comic-Con took it out of me.
How was it?
It was fun, as usual. Good turnout, and we, of course, stayed back in our back of house duties, so we didn't see or interact with much. But got to hobnob with the stars and spoke with Spencer Wilding, who was there, and he remembered us from our interview at TopCon, passes on his love to everyone, and picked up a couple autographs, and all in all, it was a pretty cool weekend. Just tired.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, and if you're still tired from it, it must have been a big weekend.
Definitely got my steps in. Spent way more money than I should have. Surprisingly, did not. It was the first time we came back with no artwork or commissions or really any extra autographs. We came back with 3 that we planned on, but I spent way more than I should have on root beer mugs. So there was that.
On root beer mugs?
Yeah, there's a company called Wild Bill's. And they've been to a couple different cons that I've been to now, and they offer a deal where if you buy their mug, you get free refills during the run of the con. And then you bring the mug back to the next event they do, and it's like, I don't know, $7, and you get free refills at that one. And I'd kind of been thinking about it, and I finally decided to pull the trigger. So I bought everybody a mug and a straw and a lid. And by the time we were done with the root beer pass, it was like, I don't know, $200. I don't like to think about that part of it. But as Mel pointed out, we never have to buy the mugs again, and they're double walled, so they keep everything cold. And they had there's like 9 different flavors that they have. There's an orange and a sarsaparilla and a root beer and a blackberry and a vanilla and all kinds of stuff. It was really good stuff. You guys know me, I'm a connoisseur of root beer, so
Yeah.
That was worth it.
Nice.
What about you guys? What'd you do?
Didn't go to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Glenn, what'd you do?
Oh, a lot of nothing. We haven't really done anything. I started watching Marvel's Runaways again, trying to get everything shored up that I haven't finished that is, at least for now, considered MCU. And shortly will be again, I suppose, after next week. But and then we just caught up on Moon Knight tonight. So
what happens next week?
Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, is that next week already?
Yeah, next Thursday, I guess, is technically Sneak Night. Friday is opening.
I'm a little behind.
Yeah,
It's almost May.
Keith,
We didn't do anything either.
Yep.
Just normal week. Been busy. Playing lots of Mario Kart.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
All right, well, I guess let's move on to our reviews.
Hearts of Darkness.
Your mission is straightforward. Find the Doctor. Stop the Doctor. And, if necessary, kill the Doctor.
From Big Finish Productions, The War Master, Hearts of Darkness.
So, what'll it be?
I'm going to the Lehar system.
Whoa! No one goes to Lehar. If anyone can get you there and back, it's me.
How did you get aboard my ship?
I was kidnapped.
And this is how you show your gratitude? By stealing?
I ain't never thieved nobody. I'd rather die.
Right. Well, if you insist.
Destruction can be so much more thrilling than creation, don't you think?
My city is burning.
Yeah, and it's doing it beautifully. Look at the colours.
That's Madame Elder. But who's she with?
An old friend of mine.
Where are they going?
They're not going, they're coming. Here, to the castle.
Whatever you're doing here, whatever you're planning to do, it ends tonight.
Is that so?
Big Finish. We love stories.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this. I quite enjoyed this whole box set.
Yes, I would agree.
I think it's one, too, that I feel like instead of breaking them up into 4 different stories, which they are, I really sort of feel like this, to me, feels like one big epic story. And there's really...
Go ahead.
There's really no way to kind of break it down without leading one right into the next one, because I think they all really kind of just continue to build on each other, and it doesn't even really feel like a break in acts. It's just, it's almost like a television story where you've got a cliffhanger at the end of each one. So
yeah, it definitely. And Big Finish agrees because they did not provide synopses for each episode.
For each
it's
individual.
only a box set.
Oh, there you go.
So, although the cast does tend to rotate out per episode, aside from the main characters, and even there in episode 3, all the other supporting cast is gone, and it's just the 2 mains and new supporting cast, and then the others kind of come back in and finish it off. But it's it says not everyone will survive, and almost only one guy from the first story even lives.
Who were the woman that her daughter gets kidnapped, and yeah, that's right. I was thinking, who did they add? I didn't remember any additional characters, but yeah, I forgot about those 2.
Yeah, and the Master's lackey.
Oh yeah.
That's
probably the only one that sort of felt standalone-ish, but not even that so much, because that one is our setup to where we are. It's kind of our flashback to kind of catch us up, because I'll say right now, when we started, I really enjoyed this story, but when I first started listening to it, I kept thinking that while this is a different approach to the Master, he isn't really acting like the Master, but he is the Master of Deception, so he may just be playing a very naive con or a very naive long game here, but he just wasn't feeling quite the same. And I thought, the writers of this are really trying their best to make me sympathize with and make me actually like and be a little more endeared to the Master. And so, but I kept thinking, okay, we'll see where this goes. Never thinking what ends up being revealed, but I just had it in the back of my mind that this just doesn't really feel like the Master here. Now, I sort of figured it out before they even did the big reveal. And it was just almost right before he started saying, stop calling me the Master, because at that point I kind of thought, I wonder if maybe this is the Doctor and they've somehow switched brains. And then that is what it ends up turning out to be. But I thought the gathering of the characters in this one was neat. I liked, actually, we get a couple of our initial characters get dispatched after that first story as well. But I like the little ragtag team that he puts together in order to get the one guy's ship out of the was it Captain Morsky get his ship out of the impound, and so they have to get the gal that's the gelatinous species so she could fit through the things, and of course the kid or the young guy Cricket, he's there sort of as the gopher, I suppose, because he's the one that has the connection to get he sets the master up with the captain, and then he also has connections with the girl that was on the refuge ship with him, which turns out to be the gelatinous girl, Ilya, who is the one that they need to kind of squeeze through the tight spaces. So I like the setup to this. It was really kind of neat, and it was kind of a fun adventure. What's going to happen next? They have to have this big kind of almost Ocean's 11 heist set up in order to get into this place, and it almost gets thwarted, but they end up getting out of there, and that was very exciting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun heist story, and they were able to really mask the lack of Master wanting to kill people with the fact of, well, we can't do that because it's going to raise alarms, etc., etc. And so I thought they did that part really well, because I never suspected anything. It wasn't until like episode 2 when I started questioning why was the Master kind of being not necessarily squirmish, but at least more likely to preserve life than normal.
Yeah. I think that's about when I started figuring it out too.
Yeah. So I was like you. I didn't see it coming until they actually revealed it. I like the captain that they introduced, Captain Morsky. Although the whole time, I don't know about you guys, but I thought he sounded just like, now I'm going to blank on his name. The guy from Highlander, and he has also done voices in Rebels and
Clancy Brown.
Yes, he sounded just like Clancy Brown.
Oh, is that
That's
right?
what I thought it was at first.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one. I was just, and I know he was doing an American accent, but even, the characterization of the captain was fantastic. The acting of the captain was fantastic. I like this character. I want more of this character.
Yeah, he was good. He was really good. And I completely believe that he was American. He had a very good American accent. As it went on, it was a characterization, but the accent was still really good.
Which we've seen that actor before on the show, but, he didn't talk a lot.
Oh, who was he in the show?
He was like the first person to become a ghost in the under the lake.
Oh, okay.
Or beneath the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
I really liked this one. I thoroughly enjoyed the heist elements. The Master assembling a team. The characters on that team were, I thought, enjoyable and pretty well fleshed out. And I honestly would have been very okay with more of them. I was a little bummed when half the crew died at the end of the episode. I was like, I guess we're not going on to the next episode, huh? But I was glad Morsky made it. I did not pick up on the Master not being the Master until the reveal. And even then, I thought he was lying, because he's the Master. It's like, way to save your skin. Sure, right. And they gave it a very plausible, well, it's in my future. That hasn't happened to me yet. And it's like, oh, okay. That's why he doesn't remember her. But, it was just a fun episode. And it hit a lot of, I don't know about this. It hit a lot of really well done notes that made the adventure segments work. Like I could completely visualize this compound and how it was set up, and the getting in and the vents and the ducts and the bulkhead doors closing and this retracting space ramp, and it just everything really, really well set up. Morsky kind of sort of reminded me of he's kind of a Han Solo type character with maybe a little less morals.
Yep.
So I had trouble not envisioning the Millennium Falcon when they blasted off of the spaceport. But no, this one was just it was just a kind of a joyous romp to go on this grand adventure and roll through it.
Yeah, they did a really good job executing the Ocean's 11 style heist aspects of it. Because, yeah, I'm with you. I could totally picture it as they were doing it. And it's a great way to, balance it when you can't visually see what's going on of them. You can almost imagine them doing it as they're describing it, since they are actually describing it. So it works really well in an audio medium to do it like Ocean's 11.
Yeah. And of course, that gets us to the next one with the Scaramancer, which I liked as well, too. I think that this one gives us a good introduction of the Scaramancer, this pirate woman who's leading a ragtag team, and then she recognizes the master from her childhood, introduces I want to say assassin. She wasn't an assassin. She was she was a hired. I guess she was a hired hit, but who was
Deidre?
Dorada?
Dorada, that's it.
Thank you.
Although she's kind of shuffled in and then shuffled back out quickly. And so I didn't feel like we got enough information about her, but she ends up being one of the constants through this one. So we get reintroduced to that. And then this was probably, I liked it, but this was probably my least favorite because I really kind of felt like this was more of the, we're getting, the Scaramancer has this problem with the master because of him separating her from her sister. And, there was so much character building here that had to get us to the rest of the story that I just kind of felt like it just kind of drummed along. There wasn't a lot of action or a lot going on in this story. So I felt that this kind of dipped down after we had the fun heist, but I appreciated it for what it was having to do to set us up to kind of advance further into the rest of the box set.
Yeah, it is kind of the setup and the development of the characters, which I thought they did a very good job developing the characters, making you care about the Scaramancer when you really shouldn't.
Right.
So, she's a pirate trying to take over their ship, and then kind of introducing Dorada and introducing that element of, well, I've been hired to take this thing to the doctor. You think she's doing a good things, and it, of course, winds up not being that case. But it's a lot of interesting character development and hints and somewhat backstory of not only just the master, but the fact that this isn't actually the master.
Yeah.
I agree. I really enjoyed the Scaramancer as a character. She was a strong character and a very interesting one. And you guys kind of said it, that it was very kind of front loaded with this character development. And as a result, the overall plot kind of suffered a little bit. But it was gearing up toward the reveal, which I guess if you had figured out early, you probably were a little disappointed with. It definitely felt like a detour to go into so much of the Scaramancer and what her deal was. And the pirate threat, they're dispatched so easily because of this pulse wave energy defect that they've got. That almost felt unsatisfyingly resolved. It was a very Doctor Who, I fixed it, and we move on. But Dorada was another one that I kind of felt like, man, I could have used more with her, because she was a very interesting character as well. She had a great introduction, suddenly, which I don't know that we ever really got how she got on the ship.
No, she's just kind of there.
She just kind of was there. I don't know, did she stow away? Did she
like on the hull almost, it seems.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in K-Deck when it was on fire. It's like, okay. So I was kind of wondering if we were going to get, did she transmat in? Is it a time ring? Was it how did you show up? Doesn't matter. She's here. And she also was a very interesting character. Just didn't quite get enough of her backstory to really wet my whistle, as it were.
Yeah.
So we're kind of setting up a new crew for further on in the story. And then just when we kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, well, we're going to get down to this planet and we'll figure out what's going on. Oh, here's the reveal. I'm not actually the master. I'm the doctor. He switched bodies with me, and it ends. And then we get this flashback episode. And there was a part of me that was like, because it had just gotten to the point where it was getting good. Like I felt like, okay, now we can get back into the swing of things now that you've established some new crew for us. And now I have to stop and go and listen to, well, how did we get to this point? But at the same time, the reveal was so good, I felt, and so shocking that I was like, well, okay, I do want to know how we got to this point. So I'm willing to roll with you a little bit longer in episode 3. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. I thought it was probably maybe just a step down from the first episode.
Yeah.
I'm not as harsh on it as Glenn is, but just a step down.
I think it definitely redeems itself in the reveal. It makes you go, oh, wait, what?
Yeah. To be fair, it wasn't. It's not like I figured this out long before the reveal. It was leading up to it. I was starting to get suspicious, and then the reveal confirmed it. It was kind of the aha confirmation. So I was equally as satisfied with the reveal because it was a confirmation that I was going down the right path with this. This isn't everything that it seems. So yeah, I thought the reveal was just amazing. I think that's why I didn't enjoy this one as much, is because I would agree with what Sean was saying. Is I think there's a nugget of a story there with Dorada and the Scaramancer both. Now, the Scaramancer, they really had to kind of hold back her character because of what happens later. But I think Dorada, I really was like you. I just kind of felt like they needed to explore that character and give me a little bit more on this, gun for hire reasoning, how she got onto the ship, what she was doing there, why she's in this room when the room's on fire, and was she already on the ship? Was she stolen away waiting? I mean, there was no indication that they were going to break in. I would have liked to have learned that she had been spying on the master the whole time and was listening in and hearing the plan and just kind of positioned herself where she needed to be by the time they stole that ship. Would have made a lot more sense. But
yeah, that would have made more sense because we really don't get any sort of explanation whatsoever.
Yeah.
And even a dropped line or two in the first episode that I think were being followed would have paid off a little bit for that. So.
Absolutely. And then I think that I was kind of the same way. My first initial thought was, oh, now we got to go back and hear the backstory. But then the reveal was so exciting that I thought, yeah, I want to know why we're here and how we got to this point. Why is the doctor in the master's body, and presumably vice versa? So,
and for me, I was very excited to go on and hear what was going to happen, because as much as the stories thus far had been enjoyable, it felt very run-of-the-mill.
Yeah.
And so far, none of the War Master stories have been run-of-the-mill. They've always been unique and different. And this is the thing that makes this story unique and different. And now I'm really excited to continue listening to it.
Then all of a sudden there was a hook.
Sure.
Yeah.
This episode of Traveling the Vortex is sponsored by Audible.
They have audiobooks, they have novelizations, and they have Big Finish. So you can go and try it for free. Here's how. Simply go to audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Again, that's audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Sign up for a free 1-month trial and dip your toe in Big Finish, and then you will be like us and know what all the hype is about.
Again, that's audibletrial.com/travelingthevortex. Sign up today.
So what did you guys think of the backstory of how we got there?
It's almost kind of a Frankenstein tale, but it obviously gets more complex than that. The work up to this castle and its history on this planet, and the doctor being there to, I think he was following Hunch or was led there or something. I can't remember exactly why he was there. I know that he was hunting. He was looking for the Master. And
he was following the Master's time signature.
That's right. So he's on the hunt.
So he essentially fell in the Master's trap.
Right. Well, and which was, that was another thing that I thought was a clever build-up and reveal, that the Doctor doesn't too easily fall into traps, although sometimes conveniently he does, but for the most part he doesn't. But but I thought that this one was a satisfying setup for why he was very naive going into this, because the Doctor, or the Master, did really have a concocted a better plan in order to draw him in. So I thought that worked really well in the thread of this. And but I like the journey from, the Doctor being a threat to this village of people, and then having to convince her that, he's actually a good guy. He has nothing to do with the daughter's disappearance. And then convincing her to take him to this castle where he's going to help, free her daughter. And of course, then the Master having the daughter held hostage because she is a descendant of this Time Lord that had created this, what was it? The spatial displacement, whatever, blah, 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 technobabble they used to call it, where he was going to be able to put, let's see, if I understand this right, he was going to be able to put his mind into the hive mind of the Daleks, right? Was the ultimate goal. Yes. And in turn, then use
the Daleks in his body.
Right. And he was going to use that to his advantage, but not in order to help the Time Lords, as though this wasn't like they had set him up to do this, but this was kind of all his plan to take advantage of the Time War, and then it would be a disadvantage to the Time Lords, as well as he would be able to utilize the hive mind of the Daleks in order to kind of take over everything. So, so I liked the scheme. I liked the plan. It was interesting that the brain swap thing could have felt cheap, because we've sort of already had the Master and the Doctor in sort of this surreal mind area in the previous story that we heard, when they had the rage and they were having to combat the rage because they had been sort of absorbed into the same mind being. But this one, it could have easily been this feels like a retread, but I think they did a good job of it. But I think that's because it's part of this ultimate plan for the Master to use the Doctor's disguise and persona in order to, move on and further into this plan. So it was pretty neat. This is where I think its strongest point is, as far as it's ramping up, and you can really feel like it's going somewhere at this point. As you said, it steps away from that run-of-the-mill story and really becomes something quite, remarkable.
Yeah.
I loved the Frankenstein references, including giving the Master an Igor. I thought that was quite clever. I was less enthused with we're going to get some horses and we're going to ride across the mountains. And it's like, dude, you have the TARDIS. It's a short hop.
He doesn't do well at short hops.
But by this stage, he has done them.
Yeah, but
Doctor, he's gotten a little bit better at it. He's got.
He also thought he was sneaking up on him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I think it was a sneak tactic, and also he didn't. I thought there was a dropped line where he didn't eat. He said something about he wouldn't be able to have his TARDIS near the Master without giving himself up, or without giving.
Did he say it?
Yeah, there's something without giving up his. Sneaking in, or the element of surprise, that if he had the TARDIS too close. So there is something early on that indicates that, or at least indicated it to me.
Okay, as long as there was a drop line, I was kind of wondering why we didn't at least get that.
I was okay with it.
If they'd given me that, I'd have been fine with it, but I must have missed that. Another bit that I kind of wanted was he lands, he steps out of the TARDIS, he gets arrested.
Yeah.
Like, boom. And I kind of was like, I wanted to hear Paul McGann say, "Oh, come on, this has got to be a record even for me." Yeah, because it's kind of the thing, is, the doctor standing over a dead body. I just got here, but that was quick, and I had to laugh at it. It was like, we're not even going to acknowledge it. We're just going to, oh, okay, they carted him off already. The plan with this. Here's another thought. I would like somebody to tackle this. It doesn't necessarily have to be us. It could be one of our listeners. I'm curious to know if the Time Lord classes, houses, what were they? Like the Pridonians and
factions.
The factions. Do you think that there is a Harry Potter-esque element to these, where there's one house that produces a predominant number of rogues? Because it seems like we keep being introduced to these Time Lord scientists that went on and created these abominations and were exiled and kicked off planet. And I would be curious to know if they all came out of the same house. Like, are they all Slytherins?
Well, there is faction paradox, but I don't think that our run-of-the-mill rogues come out of that. But the faction paradox is a house full of cults and criminals. So,
see,
there could be others, I suppose.
I'm just curious if they've ever established who these other guys belong to. I'd be curious if there was is there a group photo in the Panopticon of the purples are all bad color. We don't talk about them. Yeah, just struck me as a thought. But so this master plan to utilize this Time Lord, I was kind of shocked that the Time Lord kind of gave it to him as easily and quickly as he did.
Yeah.
For somebody who was reportedly as brilliant and ruthless as this guy was reported to being, he just kind of like, oh, I'm dead and I came back and you're the one that brought me. Okay, well, this is how you do it. I trust that you won't leave me, in limbo. You'll actually go ahead and, turn it off. And okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Although the master does make some very large promises, and it's not necessarily the master that stops it from happening. The doctor interferes and keeps the transition from finalizing. So I think the master would have actually gone through with it.
I would agree, because he does have that admiration for the Time Lord. I mean, it's established that early on that by the doctor that the master was very much fascinated by this guy. Now, granted, it was because he wanted the device that he had, but I also got the impression that he still had a lot of respect for the guy and would have honored that had, as Keith said, the doctor not stepped in and canceled that transfer.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, knowing what we got in the previous episode about, I'm going to take you and not save your sister, even though I could, just because it'll drive you nuts, and then I'm going to replay that event several times because I'm a sadistic jerk.
Think that's one thing that these stories have done is they have made the master exceptionally cruel. I mean, and now we've had cruel master before, but these stories really establish him as a very cruel, for no good reason, individual. So I mean, it certainly would not be. It certainly would not be a surprise had he double crossed this guy. But I'm with Keith. He had given enough promise to the guy to convince me, at least on the very least, that the guy was okay with going through with the plan that the master had presented. So I didn't have a problem with him being very wishy-washy, like, oh, I'm back. Okay, just don't send me back into the void.
Okay. I was just kind of, because that to me was in line with the master's cruelty level, to be like, yeah, no problem. Just give me what I want. Thanks. Appreciate it. Click. Oops.
Yeah. No, like I say, had that been the intention, I would not have been surprised, but they didn't really give us an indication that that's what's happening, because it is the Doctor that steps in and cancels the.
And who knows what else the Master could have wanted to get out of this guy too.
Right.
I'm sure there was a lot more that he could have gotten aside from a location of where the cognition shift is.
Cognition shift, that's what it is. I could not remember what it was.
I mean, and that's the whole reason he brings it back, so he can find out where it is. I'm sure he would have loved to learn more about it instead of spending however long he did on that planet. So I'm sure, it could have worked to his benefit more had the Doctor not interfered.
Yeah.
On the other side of that coin, I know I'm arguing against what I just said. He knew the Doctor was coming and was planning for it, so maybe he did anticipate the Doctor, and he's interfering and stopping it from happening, and then his hands are free of, well, it's not my fault.
Well, maybe, but the Master does seem caught off guard with how quickly the Doctor does that, and is caught by, it's indicated that he's caught off guard by the timing of that. So I don't know that he had it planned that precisely.
So here's another one. Now, I understand that we're not necessarily getting the entire Time War with the Big Finish stuff here, that there's still room for other adventures. But it seems to me that there's been a shift compared to the earlier stories that we've listened to with the War Master, where he actually was pretty gung-ho for the war effort, and that he was working to stop the Daleks. Granted, his methods may have been unconventional.
And this would have stopped the Daleks too.
And possibly cruel. But, he was working with the Time Lords to fight the war. And this set of stories in particular, it does seem like there's a shift. Now, well, this and actually the last one as well with the Rage, because both of these plans, while yes, would have targeted the Daleks, also would have had side benefits of leaving him in charge of everything.
Right. Yeah. No, he has, for the most part, had his own motives too. Yeah.
So do we think this is
even the mission? The mission that he does for the Time Lords laying that, basically that Ood planet, not Ood planet, but that planet, that the mining planet. Yeah, by leaving that pretty much barren and untouchable, he's still getting something out of that, because that's how he obtains his fob watch that he's looking for. So,
I got the impression the only reason he did that was so he could get the fob watch.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So I don't know if he was. I don't know if I ever really thought he was gung-ho for the war.
Maybe gung-ho is not the right word to
like he wasn't locking in step. Yes, I'm going to fight this Time War. It's more of I'm going to try to take it. From what we've listened to, it's more of I'm going to try to take advantage of it where I can.
Yeah.
And my allegiances may align with the Time Lords temporarily, but that's just because I want something.
We don't think that at this point he's run away yet.
Right. No, not at all.
No.
And you could even argue that him being in that parallel universe in the unit story was, looking for possibilities. Could have been him looking for a way to also take advantage.
Okay. I was just curious to know if we felt there was a disconnect there yet.
No, I will say that I'm curious about why the placement on this one on the timeline that we're going by, because I sort of wonder if it has to do with the fact that the last interaction was with the Eighth Doctor, so it felt natural to have a second interaction with the Eighth Doctor right away. But it almost feels like there should have been a little bit of distance put between these, because we had just had that story where the Master and Doctor, albeit forced to work together, did have sort of that reminiscing that it's a little more downplayed the gravity of the Master's meddling. And so this one seems to be ratcheted up almost too much that I feel like we should have maybe and we do get a pacer with the unit story, don't get me wrong, but it feels like we should have had maybe a little more of a pacer between these. I guess when we listen to Antigenesis, maybe it'll make more sense why this is placed where it's at. But I really kind of questioned the placement of this one because it really felt like it should have been distanced a little bit further from the last one. And I really don't think we're going to even get, maybe eventually we'll get the lead up to the Master running and hiding. And maybe that's the second part of the box set that we haven't finished, because I don't believe we finished the first Master.
Started the first one.
Yeah.
Yet.
So I'm wondering
the next week.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that one maybe will lead into the Master running off to hide at the end of the universe. Particularly because I think they probably did that set to kind of tell that story, and then it was such a success, or Jacobi was having such a good time that it was easy to get him back. So now they're kind of doing in between stories as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I get
like
that impression too.
Like I say, we'll find that out, I think, when we get back around to the first box set again.
Well, even looks like, just doing a quick little scan of the TARDIS Wikia page, they put the two box sets next to each other too.
In this order, though?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Callus, although I think it does. Whereas,
because in release it would have been Callus, Antigenesis, and then Hearts of Darkness.
Well, there would have been.
Rage. I'm sorry, Rage. Yeah, Rage is in there. Sorry.
I'm trying to see where Rage is in this.
I'm sorry. It would have been Rage. It would have been Rage, then Antigenesis, then Hearts of Darkness. Because Antigenesis is box set 4, Rage is 3, this one's 5, Master of Callus is 2. Yeah, I guess we haven't even got to the first one, have we? You're right. We did one. Yeah, we did 1-1, or we'll do 1-1, I guess, coming up, won't we? And then I guess we come back around to box set 1. Well, regardless.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking of the Gallifrey Time War ones that we started.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of.
We started and stepped away from because she summoned the Master at the end of the second story.
So how about that finale?
Somebody else start.
I'll go. I like I said, overall, I thought this was a really good. The first one for me is still the highlight. The second one's just a step down. I enjoyed the backstory immensely. The third one is probably for me where it falters, or the fourth one. Pardon me, the last one. The story itself is okay. The performances are great, and I give full props to both Jacobi and McGann for playing these kind of mirror versions of themselves, of their normal characters, because that's got to be both fun and terrifying to get a script and go, oh, I'm actually playing the Master in this one. You know, that's going to be different. And how am I going to approach that? And, you know, there's a little thought process, I imagine, that had to go into that.
Yeah.
And because you can't ham it up to the point, because obviously the script calls for you to act a certain way. You have to be pretending to be this other character, even though you are this character.
Yeah.
And it's not until the midway point when McGann really starts to cut loose. And then he does kind of go over the top evil.
Yeah.
But it was deliciously evil to kind of hear him. It was kind of chilling.
I think I think terrifying is probably a little too much of a word, because I think these, if it were anybody but these two very well established actors, then yeah, I probably would agree. But I think both of these guys, being such capable actors, probably looked at that and just were excited with the idea of, oh, I get a little bit of a switch around, and let's see what I can do with this. So.
Challenging, maybe.
Challenging, yeah. I'll give you that. Yeah, challenging.
But so they get top marks for that, and Jacobi reining it in and you know, all of that stuff. The story itself falls apart for me on two levels. One, the master plan here is, okay, I'm going to transfer my consciousness into the Dalek net and become all the Daleks. Okay, so we're essentially redoing the end of time plot.
Yeah.
We've seen it. It's got a couple of nifty caveats to it that, well, we can't do this because then the Daleks are going to do this, and, you know. But still, we've seen it. And then there's the, you know, in order for the master to be cruel, oh, I'm going to take your body, and then I'm going to put your brain in the body of this bird. Okay.
More of that cruelty.
That kind of sucks, but okay, cool. And then our hapless crew comes in. Oh, look at this poor bird in a cage. Here you go. Do you want out? And the bird flies away.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know enough about how this works because they didn't give us much on it. But if Dorada's brain is in the bird, wouldn't she have enough control to not fly off?
Yeah, stick around.
Yeah, don't leave out the window.
Right. I thought the same thing. I had almost hoped, or actually I almost expected that there would be a resolution to that they would find her, or that she would return after all of the the climax and everything that had happened. I sort of expected us to come back around to that, and then when we didn't, I thought, all right, well, Dorada's just out there flying around somewhere.
I mean, and maybe it was just me with my, you know, because I really enjoyed Dorada as a character. That was uncool and extremely unsatisfying.
Yeah.
You know, it was an ending that character didn't deserve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, occasionally you get a comeuppance for a character, and you're like, yeah, I don't know what bad things that she did, but I don't think she deserved that.
Yeah.
There's also this question of, I mean, so it's her brain in the body of a bird, or her mind. She know how to fly?
I suppose it's just an instinct.
Yeah, I think.
Well, that's what I have questions now. Did the bird plummet out the window and die instantly?
I think it was unsatisfying. I don't think that I would pick it apart this much, but
it really bothered me because there was a lot that I was just like, wait a minute. I mean, it just, you know, so if the instinct was there to fly, maybe the instinct overrode.
Well, they never said she never.
Okay, maybe I could buy that.
They never said she flew out that window. They released her out that window.
They just released her out
I suppose if she didn't have the instinct to fly, she plummeted into her death, and that's why we didn't see her again.
It's true.
Yeah. See, and that doesn't make it any better, though.
No.
It resolves
but, yeah. But maybe that'll stop you from being pedantic here.
No, sir, I didn't like it. So, yeah, they're just that little thing. Like I said, it just felt, I don't know, being kind of a rehash of something that we've already seen for the end of this big epic twist. I don't know. It just kind of struck the wrong. It sucked the wind out of my sails there at the end. I was like, oh, really?
I can sort of see where you're coming from. I think maybe it's on a different scale, because with the master race idea, it was just a takeover of Earth. It wasn't the entire universe. In this one, he's at least his ambitions, while maybe retread, are grander, because he is utilizing the Daleks in order to take over the universe, essentially. However, that being said, does that now mean in turn that this one didn't work, so he went to a smaller scale later in his life and decided he was just going to take over the Earth instead of the grand scale of taking over the universe?
Well, that, and I think it also fits with his hubris, because realistically, why would you want to be a Dalek? I mean, yeah, the unlimited power would be kind of cool, but they're not terribly attractive.
Well, would not be very good.
He had also had a plan to preserve his own body in order to return, hadn't he? Or did I just...
I think that was part of the plan.
I was going to say, did I maybe just presume that, though?
Because they assumed it would be in the doctor's body.
Yes.
Because that's whose body he had stolen when he was planning to do this.
Right.
So he was trying to forfeit the doctor's body in order to get back to his...
And the doctor's mind, as well as the others, were going to end up in the void.
Some of this plan doesn't quite make
no, it doesn't, and that's
a lot of this plan that doesn't make a lot of sense.
How is he going to take over the universe just because of sheer might?
Well,
he doesn't really go into that, but
he does. He does indicate, because he says, "Imagine my mind in the body of the ultimate machine," or something. There's some throwaway line of that I presumed that's what it was. It was through might. I'm with you. I think though the entire plan just seems very, not only ludicrous, but really kind of short-sighted. And so that's what my biggest gripe of this whole story. Not so much the dissatisfaction of the fact that a character ended up in a bird and didn't get resolved. Yeah, that bothered me not as much as Sean. But this whole idea that the Master has set this trap for the Doctor in order to come up with this just seemed like maybe it sort of deflated itself before it got to the end.
Yeah.
I do like that we were able to bring it back around, that the Scaramancer recognizes not that the Doctor is who he is, but that the Master is who he is. And it's because of her experience that she recognizes which one of them is the Master. So that was kind of, it was almost a turn, because a lot of times in these stories, well, I knew it was you, Doctor, because of, compassion or kindness or whatever. But no, it was the opposite. It was, I recognized that he was the Master because, and so I liked that nice little turn, that it wasn't that typical way of recognizing our hero.
Yeah, there's always not me, Spock, him,
Yeah.
And then the noble Kirk says, no, you have to shoot us both.
Right.
And that's how you figure it out.
Right.
But in this one, it's the, you're the evil one.
Right.
I thought that was a clever twist.
I can't remember what happened to the Master at the end of this one, though.
He hypnotizes a pilot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's how he gets off planet. That's right. Okay, I forgot about that. Well, he doesn't even hypnotize. Well, he does. He ends up hypnotizing him, but he ends up boarding the ship, and the pilot almost seems like, oh yeah, I'm going to go along with this. But then, yeah, the Master then goes even further and does hypnotize him in order to move on to wherever his next plan would be.
Well, he's going back to get his TARDIS and then kill him.
Right.
Which is another thing that I felt unsatisfying, because after really liking this character and seeing him survive the adventure through three parts that he was in, and another one that we didn't quite get a thing at the opening of part 2, he knew who the Master was. Because he called him out. He was like, okay, Mr. Sita, how about we just drop it? And I know you're the Master. And then they got attacked by pirates, and we kind of had to drop that.
But he found out from Dorada.
No, because he didn't know Dorada was on the ship.
Well, somebody told him. Oh no, it was the Scaramancer. Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking I'm cross-pollinating something else. It was Scaramancer that filled him in on. No, it was Scaramancer that told him, wasn't it? Somebody.
I think it was before even she showed up.
Well, how did he recognize?
That's just it.
Yeah.
He just knew. He knew something that we weren't privy to, and then we never found out how he knew that. So I was kind of hoping at the end that he would have got this. Oh, you will obey me, and then we would have got a cool. No, that doesn't work on me.
Ah, right.
I wanted some kind of for the hero but no, we don't get that. He's just going to hypnotize him, steal the ship, and then, he's not going to pay him, and he's going to kill him. It's like, oh man. wanted a better ending for all of these people.
I agree. I agree. I know what I know what I'm thinking. Scaramancer filled him in on why she's after the Master before the Master finds out. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yes, that she did.
And I like the added little twist of the knife at the end of, the Master was out there as the Doctor committing all sorts of heinous crimes with his face.
Yeah, right.
And the idea of that, and the repercussions that we could potentially see in Big Finish because of that.
Do you think maybe that ties in with that supercomputer?
Oh yeah, right. The one that was trying to kill him.
Yeah. on the Starliner.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, mostly good. Just tripped a little bit right there at the finish.
They all say, who is Doctor Who?
Do you collect Doctor Who? Do you have Doctor Who items and you don't know you collect Doctor Who? For all things in the Doctor Who collecting world, tune in to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, a Direction Point Network podcast. I am Larry Van Roorsbergen, your host, and I have been collecting Doctor Who for 40 years. With popular features like collection protection and the most outrageous offer, we have a lot of fun. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point Network podcast.
What do we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up on the schedule, more Big Finish, more War Master, specifically Anti-Genesis, than the previous box set will be next. 4 more stories. And then after that, we're going to do Only the Good Beneath the Viscoid, which is War Master 1, Story 1. And then 2 Gallifrey stories from the first Time War set, which we'd listened to the first 2. Now we'll listen to the last 2, which is The Devil You Know and Desperate Measures. And then after that, we go to Gallifrey Time War 2. We'll do all 4 of those stories. And then jump back to the War Master for all 4 stories of Killing Time, which is from the War Master box set 6. So, jumping back and forth hither and yon, still in Act 1 of the Time War.
Well, be sure to check out our website, travelingthevortex.com, for updates on the podcast. If you get any value out of the podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that by clicking on our Patreon link and consider supporting us. And if you would consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast. That helps bump us up in the ratings and recommendations. And of course, join in on the conversation in our listeners forum on Facebook.
Which we had a very interesting comment regards to these stories and kind of the when we were discussing the nature of whether or not the War Master was the protagonist or the antagonist and how we should refer to him. So if you haven't been over there, make sure you go and check it out, because it was some great discussion going on there.
Absolutely. All right, well, guys, if that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
No, I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.